The army started firing rubber bullets. That was quite scary. And then, of course, the following week was Derry, which became Bloody Sunday, where 13 people, innocent people, were murdered.
And you were there that day?
I was there that day, yeah.
Aoife is obviously so proud of her daddy, but also everything that you've achieved in your life, and she really felt like it was a story that needed to be told on the Dig podcast.
I don't know who that guy is that you just introduced, but anyway.
It's you.
And I'm saying to me, I hear going back to Newry to set up and practice, Rory. And I said, I am. He said, you know, the Newry solicitors have a reputation of fighting among each other. I said, well, Charlie, I'm not going to do that. I'm going back to fight the insurance companies and try and get compensation for people. I opened up a bar restaurant in Newry.
That bar and restaurant was blew up not once, but twice.
Yes, it was blown up twice, yes. I'd love to someone to tell me why it was done.
What is civil rights and what was that time like, and how did you find yourself in that space?
Well, there was incredible injustice going on in Northern Ireland.
You're obviously in Newry, you're immersed there, you're working there, you're in amongst the people. It's a special place, but what makes it so special, do you think?
I think there's a vibrancy about Newry. It's resilient. So I have grandchildren now. So I'm hopeful for Ireland to be a very positive place for them. Oh, I'm 79.
Are you working every day?
No, I don't work every day. A certain small white cylindrical object which needs to be struck from time to time.
Oh, tell me about that.
Sometimes the staff will say, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. McShane's not available. He's on a course.
Ah. Welcome to the Dig podcast. I am your host, Caroline O'Neill, and I want to ask you a quick favour before we get started. If you're watching on YouTube, I've been asking this every week, so you're going to know the drill. Hit that subscribe button, because so many people listen to our podcast and watch them each week and they still haven't pressed that button, and it means that we're able to reach out to great guests each week. Also, if you're listening on Apple and Spotify, just hit that follow button, and it means that more people will see the Dig podcast and we're able to get the great guests with the great advice. I have a great guest with me today. Some of you might know him. He's much more than just a solicitor. A solicitor is great, yes. There's so much more to Rory McShane. He's sitting right beside me, but before we go to him, just so I can tell you a wee bit about him. In 1973, he was barely out of his apprenticeship and he opened the doors of McShane Co solicitors. And 50 years later, that firm stands as one of the most respected practices in the North, and it's now led by the next generation of his family, but he is still there every day, working hard and keeping that legacy going. But Rory's story is much more than law. And from his early days in the civil rights movements to becoming president of the Law Society of Northern Ireland, his life has been defined by standing up, speaking out and shaping his community. And today I want to talk to him about the battles that he's fought both inside and outside the courtroom, because we all have the battles both in work and outside of work. How did he get through them, and how have they shaped him into the man he is today? Rory McShane, welcome to the Dig podcast.
Thank you very much, Caroline.
You didn't know what you were getting into, sure you didn't?
That's for sure. And I don't know who that guy is that you just introduced, but anyway.
It's you. So your lovely daughter Aoife reached out. I don't know you, you're from Newry. And I don't know you at all. I'm going to get to know you now. But Aoife is obviously so proud of her daddy, but also everything that you've achieved in your life. And she really felt like it was a story that needed to be told on the Dig podcast. So don't worry about what you're roped into. It's all good. But talk to us, Roy. 50 years in business. What does that feel like? What does that look like? How do you feel after 50 years?
Well,
business.
Strangely enough, some of it just feels like yesterday in a sense. But I'd been to Queen's, done an arts degree, I'd done a postgraduate diploma in social studies, but I had no idea what I was going to do with myself. I had no defined objective for going forward. But a friend of my dad's, who was a solicitor, spoke to him. He'd seen me on TV, so I had a fair media presence back in those days through my involvement with civil rights. And he had said to my dad, if your son Rory doesn't get involved in the law, he's making a mistake. And my dad said to him, well, is there any chance of an apprenticeship? To which he said, yes, tell him to come and see me. And there's a man called Harry Collins, no longer with us. And I was his apprentice for 3 years and qualified in 1973. Back then, you could set up and practice on your own. You can't do that now. So I was unmarried. I had no mortgage. I had no worries. Went to my friendly bank manager and said, I'm setting up practice. I need some money. He said, whatever you need. I go, what? He said, whatever you need. I went home and told my father that, and he nearly passed away. He says, bank managers don't talk like that. I said, well, this fella did.
Okay.
And I started, and away I went, yeah.
Do you ever think about them times when if people didn't give you that chance there and then, would things have went the way, you know, sometimes you need people to take that chance on you, like the bank manager doing that, don't you?
Oh, of course you do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This man knew who I was, and he man called Liam Blaney, and he thought I could be a success in the law, and took a chance, and away I went, and yeah, we're still there.
Here you are. So, but he saw something in you. So you did mention there about, you know, your media presence and that you were very involved in civil rights. Tell us about that, because I'm 43. No, not 43 to January, but I obviously don't remember that time. Wasn't born in that time. A lot of people that listen to the Dig podcast, unfortunately, there's that element of if we don't keep telling these stories and telling people about what's happened, because it's important, it's our past. Tell us about what is civil rights, and what was that time like, and how did you find yourself in that space?
Well, what I felt at that time was that there was incredible injustice going on in Northern Ireland. If you took a place like Derry, for example, where there was a majority nationalist population, but every year there was an election, the local council, the majority of councillors elected were unionist, which was what became known as gerrymandering. And that seemed to me to be wrong. There seemed to be discrimination in relation to housing and jobs, and there was a lack of equality. And it seemed to me that that injustice needed to be addressed. And the civil rights movement was doing that in a way which was attractive to me, because it was peaceful. It was protesting, but it was being done in a constructive, peaceful way. The logical arguments were being made as to why things should change, and I found that attractive, and I became involved. I got onto the executive of the Civil Rights Association and became involved in the organisation of demonstration and marches and so on over a number of years.
And like we, at that time, like as a very turbulent country that we lived in and so much going on, was there ever fear there? Because we all know that there were times when it didn't always end in the way that it was supposed to at the start, and we'll talk about that. But did you ever have fear when you were doing that?
Yeah, I suppose really, first time as I look back at it now that I was conscious of that was at a demonstration at McGilligan, which is where the McGilligan internment camp was. And we were protesting there along the beach that day, and the army started firing rubber bullets, and that was quite scary. And then, of course, the following week was Derry, which became Bloody Sunday, where 13 people, innocent people, were murdered.
And you were there that day?
I was there that day, yeah. I was on the platform. My job was to introduce the speakers that were to address the crowd, but it never got that far, unfortunately.
And what
the
about
whole
that?
thing deteriorated, as we know.
I know, and do you know what? There's going to be people like the younger generation and all, where some of these stories have not been told in the way that we need to hear, as in that it's part of our history and all of that. But what about that day? Like, obviously so much trauma, so much loss, so much pain, so much devastation, but what was like, were you able to escape without any harm, or what way did it go?
Well, we, those of us who were on the platform party, which included a House of Lords member, a man called Fenner Brockway. Fenner Brockway had been a Labour MP, had been very much involved in the anti-apartheid movement, and had come over to support the civil rights movement in Northern Ireland. And he was on the platform that day with a number of others, including Bernadette Devlin, Bernadette Michaeliski, as she is now. And I remember after the shooting took place, well, we didn't know at that point the extent of it. And we went up to the late McCaffrey's house and could hear what was going on then on the radio, and we started to discover that people were actually killed. And that evening, I went with 3 friends and drove back to Newry. And the sequence of events was to have a march at McGilligan to protest internment, to have a march in Derry, and then to have one in Newry. And I came back with my friend Sean Hollywood and 2 other people, and we decided that we would go ahead with the march the following Sunday in Newry. And we did, and it went ahead successfully. Probably 100,000 people there. There was no confrontation with the army. It was totally peaceful. People came from all over the world, American elected representatives, Vanessa Redgrave, the actress, people like that all came to Newry on that day to support us. And, you know, relatively short period thereafter, the Stormont Parliament was prorogued, and that was a major change to the political landscape in Northern Ireland.
Mm-hmm. So that march that happened in the week after is a very significant thing as well, that people were able to come out again even after so much trauma and loss, and keep that fight for justice or civil rights. Like for you to be like in the leadership of that and to be part of the people that were, you know, leading that, like that takes courage after the week that just went by. There must be something in you, like, I don't know, bigger men would have not went, or, you know, it's a scary time for, you know, but there must be something in you very, like, got that passion.
Yeah, I suppose there was that. It was, as you describe it, passion, then to stand up and defend human rights and to protest against injustice. Yes.
Would you like to maintain healthy hair and nails, boost your energy levels, and just feel better every day? Well, then you should try one of the most popular blends from Linwood's Health Foods. This is the cold milled flaxseed, almonds, Brazil nuts, walnuts, and CoQ10. So there's so many benefits. It contains selenium, which helps contribute to the maintenance of your hair and nails. It helps maintain normal cholesterol levels. It helps with your immune support, your energy, and it also has 15 grams of your recommended daily intake of magnesium, which is brilliant for fatigue levels. So there's so many benefits, and it's all you need is 20 grams of this product on your cereal, your smoothie, your yogurt, your porridge. Add that each day and start to feel the benefits. You can pick it up in major supermarkets, you can pick it up in the health food stores, and also online at linwoodshealthfoods.com. And even better, they've given us a discount for you because they're our sponsor. So you can enter DIG20 into linwoodshealthfoods.com and get 20% off and get it delivered straight to your door and start to feel them benefits every day. And then you told me as well, whenever I was talking to you before we came on the podcast, about when things started to escalate more, like, personally towards you, because there were times whenever you got threatened yourself, isn't that right?
Oh yes. I mean, I was, I you know, had the joy of getting a letter in the post. This is some years later when I was married, with a bullet, 2 bullets, one with my name on it and one with my wife's name on it, you know, and you know, had letters from the police saying that I should be careful about my personal conduct, you know, how, you know, where I went and what I did and so on, because there were threats. But, you know, I wasn't the only one in that category. So you took it on board and you dealt with it as best you could and got on with your life.
What about your wife? How was she feeling when that was going on? Was she like...
Well, Angela knew I had a very profound interest in politics, and I think by this stage I was active in the SDLP and was on the executive of the SDLP for a time, but she was not enthusiastic about me getting involved in electoral politics or whatever. And so I suppose that the focus really for my life then became the legal practice that I had established, and I worked extremely hard at that. But I also did other things. I opened up a bar restaurant in Newry because I thought there was a need at that time for something like that. So I was doing business stuff as well as looking after the legal practice.
You were, and you've stopped there, but actually that bar and restaurant was blew up not once but twice.
Yes, it was blown up twice. Yes, I'd love to someone to tell me why it was done. The excuse at the time was that it was being used by the RUC, that they were frequenting it, which I think was quite laughable. The idea that what was going on at that time, that police officers would be socialising in Newry, given the atmosphere that was there. So I'd love somebody to come along all these years later and tell me the truth as to why it was blowing up, not once but blowing up twice. You know.
But then you, as you say, you and your wife made that decision together. That, like you said to me on the phone, I got the message, and I moved into my law full time then, and really threw yourself.
I mean, the second bomb was placed in the premises, was put in there on a Saturday afternoon when the place was packed, and the risk to customers and to staff was enormous. And we were able to get the place cleared, and the army came and tried to defuse the bomb, but it went off, and well, probably under a controlled explosion, but did enormous damage to the property. Yeah.
So much has happened in this country, hasn't it? It's amazing to see where we are now. I know all those things are part of the journey.
But that's the great thing of where we are now.
Yes.
We can look back at all of that, and we can dwell on it. And there's a risk, I think, in Northern Ireland in looking perhaps too much at the past, and we need, I think, to be positive and look at the future. You know, you mentioned my daughter Aoife, and I have another daughter, Fiona, and they've got kids. So I have grandchildren now. So I'm hopeful for Ireland to be a very positive place for them, you know, and that we can have a entirely, we can, say, not forget about the past, but not dwell upon the past, start to dwell and look towards the future and how we can improve everything on this island. Absolutely.
And I suppose across all parts of the community, there's so much loss on all, in every town, in every county, and everybody has a story of someone they know. And, you know, sometimes, like, especially on the Dig podcast, I don't like traditionally talk about politics or anything, but I think when you speak to people from here, it's very hard to ignore our history, and I don't think we should. But as you say, dwelling on how much far we've come and the positive things ahead is the best way to look at things now.
Absolutely. I mean, Northern Ireland has been transformed,
Yes.
You know, and we just need to see if we can keep improving it. I mean, you look at the level of unemployment in Northern Ireland; it's incredibly low. You know, so we have to try and think in a positive way how we can grow the economy, how we can make the place much more successful. That's the way we have to be looking forward, and I believe in a constructive, positive way.
You know, I do too, and it's great to hear someone like you who's been through so much speak with that positivity as well, because you've been through so much that no one would have denied you the right to say, do you know what, I don't want to be as positive about it, but it's great to hear someone like you speak like that. So when we're talking about the law and your practice and all, so you very much threw yourself into that.
Yeah.
What were you mainly focusing on in your practice? You did talk about the work that you do.
Well, I think when I set up in Newry, where my office was based, none of the other practices were really very much interested in looking after personal injury cases. That's people who are injured in road traffic or factory accidents. And I saw an opportunity there and took on those kind of cases and ran them to courts and fought the insurance companies and got decent compensation for people. And that kind of reputation went out there. And, you know, once you get a name of doing something and doing it well, then more work will follow. Of course, we do all the other stuff that traditional country practices do, conveyancing, probate, all of those things we do, yeah.
And you talked about too doing some work with Crossmaglen Rangers, wasn't it?
Oh, they were one of my clients have been for many years, yeah. And one of my most interesting cases, strangely enough, was a defamation libel case. Believe it or not, connected with Crossmaglen Rangers Football Club. Yeah, it's a well-known case or a well-reported case in the law journals. It's a case called Duffy v. Green News Group Newspapers. This concerned the executive committee of the Crossmaglen Rangers Football Club, who were written about in one of the English tabloids, and they accused the executive committee of the club as being the local IRA, which was complete fiction. And we took the case to the courts in Dublin, and went as far as high up as the Supreme Court in Dublin, and we won the point, and all the committee members got compensation. I stress, none of which they kept for themselves. They put it into a trust fund for the benefit of the club. That's the kind of people that were there. They were business people, they were high-ranking civil servants, they were non-political, and they were vindicated. And I took great satisfaction out of being able to bring that case forward.
Again, seeking justice for those who...
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Because I remember whenever we were talking on the phone, you told me that, but I didn't know that story. Again, I think it's important we tell stories. People need to know the things that people have been through as well. So whenever you talk about like you've dealt with a lot of people over the years, both the challenging situations on the highs and the lows, what, like, is there any particular, when you talked about that case, is that the particular case that really stands out as being really difficult, or is there any other case, without giving away any details, of course?
Well, I chose that case because, as I said, it went to the highest. I've never had an opportunity to take a case to what was the House of Lords at the Supreme Court in London, although we've been to the Court of Appeal in Belfast on occasions, but never got across to London, which would have been nice to go there and make law, but that didn't happen. But so that, in terms of lawmaking, that I mentioned that case for that reason. But I've done thousands of personal injury cases. We've done lots and lots of property dealings, both commercial and domestic. We've administered big and small estates. We've done. That's the routine of country solicitors. That's what we do.
Yeah. Without you and people like you in all our towns, you're who we turn to, and I suppose when we need. But you were president of the Law Society,
yes,
and that's all about policy making and change and all. Is there like one policy that you're proud of, like really proud of?
Well, if the one thing that I would want to emphasise really through the Law Society is that it's a cross-section of the whole Northern Ireland community, the people who serve on the executive of the Law Society. And someone whom I become very closely personally friendly with, which might surprise some people, was my immediate successor. It was a man called James Cooper, from Enniskillen. And James was a former chairman of the Ulster Unionist Party. And he and I are firm friends. And that's what the law does. It brings you in contact with other colleagues from different traditions, different backgrounds, and all kinds of friendships have developed for me through that, from people who I would otherwise perhaps have never met or have connected with. And that's been one of the great joys of the legal profession of being part of it.
And what about all those policies that you've worked on? Like, is there any policy you can tell us about that you're proud of, that got over the line, or that you got through? Or...
Yeah, there was a complete look at the structure of the Law Society and how it dealt with complaints and all of that. And a former Chancellor of the University, Queen's University Belfast, our Vice Chancellor, George Bain, set up a committee, was asked by government to set up a committee with a wide-ranging group of people from all sections of business and community to look at how this could be structured, and we had to engage with him in all of that, and the legislation that flowed from that, which did change how legal services are run in Northern Ireland, was done and being implemented as at this moment. It's taken a long time for the legislation to come through, but I thought that it was a fine balance between the needs of the profession and the needs of the public, and I think the balance was struck and has been struck well.
What about any policies that you wish had have made it through and didn't, or is there anything like that you wish had I got over the line that didn't, or anything they're working on? Or
I can't think of anything in that regard. Something that I would have liked to have
That's good.
seen over the line. No. Yeah.
That's good that everything's kind of work in progress and getting it over whatever way it should be. And then you talked there, you mentioned briefly about opening a bar and restaurant, as you do in between civil rights marches and opening a law practice. But now hospitality is a lot different. Well, I suppose you're still dealing with people, but what did working in hospitality teach you that a career in law never could? Because people do talk about, do you know John and Paddy McParlin?
I do, of course.
So I had them on the podcast.
Yeah, I know you did, and I had the great privilege of being instructed by them from time to time to do some work for them.
Okay.
Especially when they were doing buying the properties to assemble what is now the Canal Court. Yes. So I've known those guys for a very, very long time. Yes.
Two great men. They don't like to tell too much now about what they've done, or they don't like to.
They're not. I don't know how you got them onto a podcast. You did very
well. They're a bit like yourself. They were like, their daughter had a lot of that, and they were like, what are we doing here? So we were creative with our skills at getting them to talk, but they did talk about hospitality being the best education you'll ever get when it comes to dealing with people.
The thing that I probably took most out of the hospitality is how to run a business, how to make a profit, and then you can transport that back into a legal practice, and it's a business too.
Of course.
People don't perhaps perceive it as such, but you're there to run it and to be a success and try and make money. So the lessons learned, the financial lessons learned in hospitality industry are transportable across to pretty well any industry, and they were transportable to the legal practice as well.
And as I suppose that thing again, you're working with people across them all, and when you're a people person, you can kind of get through a lot of challenges. Yeah. Time tells the tale, and when someone's there that long, I always think it's a good indicator that it's a good place to work and good community and good culture. So I think there's a lot to be said for that. And then you're obviously in Newry, you're immersed there, you're working there, you're in amongst the people. It's a special place, I know, to you and to so many people. But what makes Newry, like Newry people are in a league of their, like, you don't say nothing about Newry when there's anybody from Newry about. It's a special place, but what makes it so special, do you think?
I think there's a vibrancy about Newry. Newry's very lucky in the sense of, the arts and culture, the Newry Musical Society, the speech and drama facilities that are there, New Point Players, all of that, and we're lucky to have some very, very good schools as well, where all of this is encouraged. So and there's a very strong sporting tradition in Newry right across the board, whether it be soccer, Gaelic football, hockey, whatever. All of that's part of Newry.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been through the hard times too. I was telling you on our call that I used to have a shop in Dungannon, and when the flooding happened in Newry, my heart was broke for them, because I knew what that must have been like for water to gush in around. Like, I was gutted when that happened to Newry, but there's that resilience there and everybody coming together too, isn't there, to help people?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm on the board of Newry Bid,
right?
And we're blessed with a general manager called Eamon Connolly, who is so proactive and so good at galvanising the local business community and helping out. And he was phenomenal during that whole problem with the flooding, and that hasn't stopped. I mean, there's ongoing engagement with the department.
Yes.
As to how Newry will be protected going forward. It isn't that's a one-off event,
no.
And we've got a load of sandbags in now that we didn't have before, and that's it. No. There's a push on to get the fundamental structural problems which exist around Newry, to get those dealt with. And in fairness to the department, they are engaging in a very positive way, and have set out a roadmap as to how the situation can be alleviated and hopefully not happen again.
Because I remember watching the news and thinking, no, I would crumble, but there were the shop owners were on, and they were all helping set up in each other's places, and Jack Murphy Jewelers, I know all the team there, and everybody was coming together, and I thought, geez, I think I would crumble under that. But I guess when it happens to you, you have to either fight or lie down and die, or fight.
But take a guy like Paul McCartan, for example, who has a clothes shop.
That's right.
In McCartan Brothers, right in the middle of where the real problem was.
Oh, no.
and he had to up stakes and leave and go to the shopping centre.
That's right.
And then he had to take a decision. What am I going to do? But he's back.
That's right.
In his traditional premises.
Fair play to him.
And it takes courage to do that. You know, it takes, and that's the kind of, you're asking, you know, what Newry's like. I mean, it's resilient, and people like that demonstrate that.
Did you? And it was a very good feel good factor when you seen them back. You were like, yes,
Yeah.
great. And I felt it as a past retailer. I could feel what they must have went through, but great to see them coming along. What about mentors along the way? I can sense you're a great mentor for many people, but what about you? Has there been anybody that's mentor that you would have looked up to or give you advice, or is there anything that you live by that a mentor might have said? I always like to ask people that.
Yeah, well, back to my old master, Harry Collins, who got me into the law and encouraged me during those 3 years of apprenticeship with him. He stands out, you know. But another man a man called Charlie Hill, who was a QC, and I remember speaking to him, and I'm saying to me, I hear you're going back to Newry to set up and practice, Rory. And I said, I am. He says, you know, the Newry solicitors have a reputation of fighting among each other. I said, well, Charlie, I'm not going to do that. I'm going back to fight the insurance companies and try and get compensation for people. And that's been my motto ever since. And I have to say, I feel anyway that I have great relationships with all my Newry colleagues, and we are collegiate, and we try to work together.
Mm-hmm. And what advice do you give your children? Do you ever give your kids any advice about going out into the world or dealing with people? Is there anything you would say to them?
Yeah, I mean, they've been lucky because they've been all extremely well educated, and they've been all encouraged to have a work ethic, and in fairness to them, since they were, you know, teenagers, they've always had summer jobs, and they've learnt the value of a pound, and I think that's extremely important. And when you've gone through that, I think it sticks with you forever. Yeah.
It definitely does. And you'd like to encourage young people to realise that and get out there into the workplace and experience all these things. Now, you're very busy. It's sometimes it's considered rude to ask a woman her age, but is it rude to ask a man? Do you feel like you wouldn't want to say what?
No, I'm 79.
79.
Mine, yeah.
And are you working every day?
No, I don't work every day. Certain small white cylindrical object which needs to be struck from time to time.
Oh, tell me about that. Yes.
That's my sporting passion is golf. You know, I've been a captain and president of the Warren Point Golf Club, and deeply involved in it over many years. And I love the sport and the crack and the camaraderie it brings. And you know, the club just won a big All-Ireland event there a couple of weeks back, and that is, you know, the joy you get and you get from seeing these young guys who have gone off and committed all year, and now they go down to Cork and they win an All-Ireland. You know, the pleasure and the joy that I get out of that, you know, is great. So it's a wonderful pastime, the opportunity to go and play other courses in different parts of the world, all of that. You know, you kind of holidays around that, and no, I've enjoyed it thoroughly. It's been a great outlet. When you're on the golf course, you're not too worried about your last case or your current case or whatever.
So I hear, because we recently did a collaboration with Loch Earn. We went and recorded our podcast up there, and they're a very beautiful golf course.
Oh, it's a great course, yeah. Very.
We were on that golf buggy. I could have took up golf the very best, but they were talking about the therapeutic nature of, well, women are taking up golf obviously now, and it's become very popular, but men getting together on the golf course, talking about work or not talking about it, as you say, there's a great therapy there, isn't there, for switching off?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's just a great. It's just a way to get out and leave troubles behind and just go out and have a bit of fun. You know. Yeah.
So you're able to switch off, all right then?
Oh yeah, I can switch off there. Yes. Well, I can't switch off the match.
No.
Because I could lose a fiver if I switched off. You know, that wouldn't do.
Yeah, but you can switch off from the worries of work.
Oh yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
That's good, because you'd imagine, you know, that you're dealing with very stressful situations. So you need that too, because our well-being is so important now, isn't it? Like, life is busier and more stressful than it's ever been.
Okay, well, that's the difference. You see, you know, what it's like now practicing law, and back when I started, You know, we had no mobile phones then.
I know.
You know,
I know. Think about that. Like
you had no email. You know, but life went on, practice went on. You know, I mean, I remember playing photocopiers coming in, plain paper copiers coming in. Before that, you had these stuff that stuck together almost. You know, people of your generation never heard of that probably. You know,
no.
so.
So what is it like when you think about that? There wasn't all that there is now, but the work still got done.
Yes.
But is there more expected? There's more expected of us now because people can reach us quicker, get that information. So it stands to sense that we're a more stressed society than perhaps. I'm not saying you weren't. Like obviously you were going through a lot, but you know that would make sense that we're feeling a lot more frazzled than people maybe did years ago.
Yeah, the pace of things now has changed. You know, there's you know, somebody sends you an email, there's almost an expectation that you're going to reply immediately. That just can't be, you know, because it's just impossible to do that. So you just have to organise and pace it and do it as the appropriate time.
Out of office on the golf club, on the golf course. That would be a good one to send back on the emails, right?
Yes.
Have you been known to do that, Rory?
No, I haven't.
You haven't put your head office on?
No, but I have. I know what. Sometimes the staff will say, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. McShane's not available. He's on a course."
Ah. If you've ever had that message at Rory's and McShane's practice, you know what course they're talking about.
Yeah.
Quick fire questions. Are you ready for some here? We try to do this with a few guests, so
all right,
don't get nervous.
All right, okay.
Coffee or tea in the office?
Coffee.
Okay, good man. Just like me. Best place for a pint in Newry?
Canal Court or where else would we go in Newry? Trying to think where else is a good pint. I don't drink in Newry, you see.
Okay. Well, where's the best place to go for a pint?
Cobbles, maybe.
I don't even know if you take pints. I don't even know if you'd like a pint.
Canal Court or Cobbles would be
Okay.
would be good places to go.
What's the first case you ever worked on? Can you remember?
I can remember the first conveyancing, the first property case I ever did, which was buying a property for a man who now lives in the west coast of America, and buying a property for him. I remember it well because it was the first property, you know, purchase case I'd ever had. You know, and it sticks out. Yeah.
And what's the biggest misconception about solicitors?
I'm not sure there are many misconceptions about solicitors. It's interesting. The statistics show that if you ask somebody about solicitors, there might be a negativity. But if you ask somebody about their own solicitor, there's a positivity. So there's this contradiction, if you like, you know. Yeah.
And one law that you change tomorrow if you could?
Oh, God. What would I change tomorrow? I can't think off the top of my head any particular law that I would change.
That's good. That's a good sign. It means that we're being...
Yeah.
Okay, one word that you would use to describe the people of Newry. We might have already focused on this, but...
Resilient.
Yeah, definitely. In one word, what has kept McShane Co going for 50 years? And it's not pints and it's not coffee. What? One word.
It's not one word, but it's the support of the people in Newry, South Down and South Armagh. That's where my clientele have come from. We've had the great joy is repeat business, generational.
Yeah.
You know, man comes in, son comes in, grandson comes in. We've had all of that, and we've been very lucky with support, very loyal support from a lot of people over a long number of years.
Because it's like that thing you said, isn't it, about reputation, and it's you trust who your daddy and your mummy trust, and that just follows right through in business especially. Yeah. So and what about legacy? And I don't even know, some people are like, what does that word even mean? But in one sentence, like, what would you want people to say that McShane Co stand for or stood for? What is the legacy?
I would hope that people would feel that we've done we do a decent job, and we look after people and look after them well.
Well, I think that's definitely been what I've gathered from doing all my research and reading up. That's definitely the feeling about the work that you've done and the impact you've had with all your clients, and your daughter, and you're going on a big road trip, aren't you? Tell us about that now.
Oh yes, I'm going to, my son lives in San Diego in California, so I'm going out to see him now in October, and we're going to do a boys only road trip together. So
What does that look like now?
he's got it all planned, you know. So he'll do the driving. He doesn't drink, so
You can do wee stop-offs.
so we do stop-offs. Go to the wine country. Maybe I might be able to sip a glass of wine or whatever.
Nice.
There with him, you know.
Isn't that lovely though to be able to do that with him? I'm sure you're looking forward. Like, that's not really the usual trip, so it's lovely to have that to look forward to.
Oh, it is. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
The beauty of having family all over the world, you can have experiences too, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
How was your first podcast interview? That's my last question. He's like, I'm never doing this again. So, you know, I appreciate you being here, but wasn't that bad, was it?
It was worse.
Ah, stop it. Oh, no. Look, do you know what? If Aoife hadn't reached out to me, I would never have met you. And this is the beauty of telling stories and people saying yes and meeting people you've never have met before. And now we're acquainted now, and you never know when our paths will cross again, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you for being my guest today. Good luck on your road trip. Remember to come back. You know, to be staying out there, and yeah, I'm sure the legacy will continue on of your practice, and your daughter and is carrying that on too. So thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you. And thank you to the Dig Podcast listener. Thanks again. What an amazing guest. I never would have met him if his daughter didn't reach out. So keep reaching out with all your stories, and we love to tell those stories. They're so important. And remember, may we ask if you hit that subscribe or that follow button wherever you're listening to your podcast, and I will see you again next week for our next guest.